Welcome back to Even Tacos Fall Apart, the podcast that's all about nurturing our mental health and well-being. I'm MommaFoxFire, and I'm really glad you're here. Today, we're talking about something a lot of people don't think about when they picture celebrities, influencers, or performers on stage or in front of a camera: mental health in the entertainment industry. There's this shiny, public image that gets pushed out everywhere. The red carpets, sold-out shows, viral videos, perfect outfits, non-stop confidence. But what most folks don't see is the pressure behind the scenes. Long hours, financial instability, non-stop criticism, brutal self-doubt, and constantly having to prove yourself over and over again just to stay visible. Being in entertainment isn't just about talent. It's about hustling constantly, managing rejection, dealing with isolation, and having to juggle business with creativity. It's a world that runs on extremes: extreme highs, extreme lows, extreme competition, and all of that takes a toll on mental health. Most people working in the entertainment world aren't living the A-list lifestyle. They're building something from scratch, usually with no safety net, and doing it while managing anxiety, burnout, depression, or other challenges that don't stop just because the camera's on. So in this episode, we're getting into all of that. I sat down with Keldamuzik Diva. She's a hip-hop artist, actress, producer, entrepreneur, and total powerhouse based out of the Bay Area. She's been doing this since she was a kid, and she's carved out her own path in a really tough industry by staying independent, staying focused, and staying real. She is not afraid to talk about the stress, anxiety, hustle, the moments where she wanted to quit, and what kept her going. This conversation is honest and grounded. We talk about everything from performance anxiety and the myth of overnight success to burnout, imposter syndrome, and the importance of setting boundaries as a creator. She also shares the ways she takes care of herself and finds balance, including the stuff that works, the stuff that doesn't, and how therapy helped her step back and reframe how she was running her life and business. This is the kind of episode that'll speak to you whether you're in the entertainment world or not, because so much of what we talk about applies to anyone who's ever felt overwhelmed, overlooked, or just flat out exhausted while trying to chase a goal. If you've ever had a passion project, a dream you're building, or even just that feeling of trying to be everything for everyone and still falling short sometimes, you'll get something out of this. So stick around, turn up the volume, and let's get into it. This is Mental Health in the Entertainment Industry with my guest, Keldamuzik Diva. Hey, good evening, y'all. Oh my gosh. We started off with some technical difficulties. Hopefully that means that we got them out of the way. Appreciate y'all being here for another Mental Health Monday. I'm really excited for our conversation tonight. We are going to be talking about the entertainment industry and mental health. And I am joined tonight by a wonderful, wonderful guest. This is Keldamuzik Diva, and we're going to be talking through some of that. Before we get into any of that, I do have a question queue open. So if you are looking to ask any questions of our guest tonight, feel free to pop in there and just put your question in the chat, and we'll make sure to get to it while we are live here. Rose, I see you. I see you saying I'm not doing good, but how are y'all? I'm doing all right now that the technical difficulties are out of the way. I'm sorry to hear that you're not doing well. I hope that the evening starts to look up for you. And all right, so let's get going here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Keldamuzik, and we will kind of start going through this. But Keldamuzik is a multifaceted hip hop artist, actress, producer, and entrepreneur, known for her energetic performances and trailblazing ventures in entertainment and fashion. Hailing from the Bay Area, she has captivated audiences with her music, international tours, and innovative projects that bridge the worlds of music, television, and business. Beyond entertainment, she has also made her mark in fashion with Tam's berets, a stylish and empowering accessory line. Committed to giving back, Keldamuzik donates Tam's to various loss organizations, using fashion as a means of support and awareness for those in need. With a passion for creativity and community impact, Keldamuzik continues to push boundaries, inspire others, and leave her imprint on multiple industries. And if you guys are looking to connect with her anywhere, I've got website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube coming at you in chat in just a moment. And we will get going through those. But Keldamuzik, thank you so much just for taking the time out today to join us. I'm excited for this conversation.
Yes, Mama Foxfire. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and I look forward to this conversation.
Yeah, we do have a question in the queue already. Rose would like to know, what is your favorite flower?
Oh, my favorite flower. You know what? I'm gonna have to say a dandelion.
Ooh, I love dandelions. They're coming out right now. Like that's the flower that's out
Yeah,
right now.
I think because I saw one earlier, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You
But they're
know,
they're pretty.
dandelions are they're really pretty, and then you get the little puff at the end, the little dandelion puff at the end after they're done
Yeah,
blooming. And it's one of the first
yeah.
foods that bees get every year. So it's one of those like it's
Ah,
one of the first flowers of spring. So it's really neat to kind of see those coming out and everything. That's awesome.
it's an interesting fact. All right.
Yeah. My favorite flower is definitely sunflowers. Yesterday I was wearing pants that had sunflowers on them. Today my pants do not have sunflowers on them, but yesterday my
Mm.
pants had sunflowers on them. I love sunflowers all the time. There's a jar right here that has a bunch of sunflowers inside of it on little cards with it's got like little positive messages. My sister gave me this big jar of sunflower positive messages. I think it's really cute. They're great. I like them because they follow the
I-
sun. Like they just anywhere the sun is, that's where their little flower is going to face.
There you go.
I like it. So tell me, how did you get your start in the entertainment industry and what inspires you as you're going along?
Yeah, so I started when I was a child. I was enrolled in uh, acting schools, modeling schools. I was sent out on auditions, go-sees, cold reads. I had my first headshots done at 5 years old,
Oh,
comp
wow.
cards, everything. Yeah, exactly. And it was during that era when Full House was popular.
Yeah.
Fast forward, Boy Meets World, Family Matters, Step by Step, and I was like, "Mommy, I want to be one of them." And so she did her research and, took me to a few agencies and I got in. And, from there, everything just kind of went in a positive direction for me as far as, pursuing this industry and actually figuring out what I really want to do. And now everything's just coming full circle because again, I started off doing acting and modeling and even singing. But then I started rapping when 2005. And, not only am I doing that now, it's opened doors for me to start acting again and to host and to launch my beret line and to just do so much more.
That's really cool. I mean, you're in the right state for it too, right? Like being out in California's got to help. If I got
Yeah.
my kids headshots being in North Texas, like I don't think much would come of it.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of agencies everywhere. It's just
Mm,
local. And then sometimes they're like national campaigns that they cast for that still, uh, again, that make it to, national media. It's just Hollywood is just where it keeps you busier, I should
yeah.
say.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. More
Yeah.
kind of more just like immediate opportunity a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
So you wanted to do that at 5 years old. You were like, you're telling your mom, this is something that I want to do. It wasn't your mom trying to put you into it or anything.
It was a little bit of both, I would
Yeah.
say. Because sometimes it was just all about the glitz and glamour, the idea of what acting's about, and walking into the auditions and seeing these mysterious people and you're trying to guess who's the boss, who's the director, who's the talent agent, and everyone's dressed in their own way, like, everyone's like in character.
Hmm.
Um so and all these big cameras and lights and stuff. So I think like she was more in love with that. And then I was just in love with the fact that, oh wow, I have a platform to show off my skills, and my personality because I was really a funny kid. I was really, really funny. I'm still funny to this day. People are like, why aren't you a comedian? And I'm like, do you know? Like, man, do you know how much guts it takes to be a freaking comedian? I shoot, that's not me.
It's a lot. Like being a comedian is a lot more work, I think, than people realize. There's just so much that goes into it because it's not just, okay, you have your material that you've memorized and that you deliver well. Most of the
Hmm.
time you're going to have to do crowd work too. And that's a whole different set.
Whole different set. Yeah, you're totally right.
So what continues to inspire you now?
I would say my fans inspire me and anyone who supports me. And let me tell you why. At one point I thought about quitting and just saying, you know what? I don't really feel like doing this anymore. It's just too much of a hassle. And, I feel like I'm not where I want to be in my
Hmm.
career. But then randomly, I met a fan on the streets and they came up to me and they started reciting some of my lyrics from one of my songs, Mr. Right, and told me, "Oh my gosh, I've been watching you on local TV for years. I remember your first, music video release and I follow you still and whoa, you're doing so much. I love you." So it's like I'm doing it for them because I've changed one person's life. And if you change one person's life, imagine how many other lives you've changed based on your energy that you're putting out there to the universe and just showing people that you're not afraid to be brave and opinionated and powerful. So that's what motivates me to keep going, to be honest.
I love that. I tell people all the time, like some of the most meaningful moments that I get out of doing what I do is whenever
Hmm.
someone will reach out and be like, you don't even know that you made a difference in my life, but you made a difference in my life." Telling creators that they're making a difference, y'all, if you have a favorite creator, I don't care if it is a famous musician or someone who isn't super famous or I don't even care. I don't even care who it is. If you have a favorite creator, just drop them a note and say like, hey, what you're doing is meaningful. What you're doing is awesome. Because I can
Exactly.
personally tell you that will make me ride a high for like a year.
What I'm saying. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. It'll make you just work harder,
Yes.
actually, and you'll do more. And even if it's just to please that one person, because that's your number one supporter.
Yeah, absolutely. There was
Yeah.
definitely a time where I thought about not podcasting anymore. And right around that time, I got like two or three messages from people being like, "Hey, you've made a really big difference and I just want you to know that." And I'm like, "Never mind, I'm never quitting."
Right, right, exactly. Keep going, keep going.
Yeah, for sure. So, how do you balance being creative with the business side of entertainment without losing your passion?
It's it. I would say it's difficult. At first, when I discovered the business aspect of entertainment, I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna focus on this because why do I need to make more content if it's not out there yet? I need to
Mm,
work on the business part to push it out there. But then, yes, the business part could be very exhausting because especially when you do multiple things like myself, you have to keep up with the fashion aspect, the music, the TV, the film, working with other content creators. And now you have all these emails piling up with different topics, different subjects, different issues. And I'm the type of person, I have a pet peeve when I see any notification highlighted on any of my apps. I don't care what it
mm.
is. I'm going to click it and find
If
out
there's that
what
bubble.
I need to do. Exactly. And I never have no more than 5 unread emails a day. I know some people let their emails pile up to like 50 to 100. I'm like, that you're leaving business on the table. You're leaving money on the table, opportunity on the table. And so sometimes that's happened to me because it's just so overwhelming and
Yeah.
mentally draining. You're just like, okay, I just need to lay down, watch a movie, go to sleep, get to it tomorrow.
Hmm.
And then next thing you know, another day goes by and you keep procrastinating and you really find yourself being buried under all of your work. So
Yeah.
you have to have a balance. And the balance for me is just time management. Focus 1 hour on this particular project, 2 hours on this particular project. And Google Calendar or Calendly is is your best friend because it really helps you with time management as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I I was thinking like I'm awful at my emails, but then you talked about like you're leaving money on the table, and I'm thinking of like my personal email where I probably have 10,000 unread emails. It's a problem. But I go there if I know that there's an email coming that I need to pay attention to, I go there specifically for that
Mhm.
email, and then I just like continue ignoring the rest. But yeah, for the podcast email is a whole different email. That's a different story. So you're right. You
Right,
gotta
right.
you gotta you gotta pay attention to that kind of thing, and it is a chore sometimes. Some days are harder than others to be like, okay, now I have to go check this email. Where some days you're like, oh, let's check the email, you know?
Right, right. You'll make a point to sit there and check all the emails, replies, do whatever you have to do, but then there's sometimes where you're just like, okay, let me just wait for that one particular email to come. I'll get back to the rest later. So,
Yeah,
yeah, that happens a lot too.
yeah, most definitely. Well, it sounds like you've got a pretty good balance though, at least for yourself and kind of like you've got what works for you, right? And that's what makes a difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Do you have a true crime story that fascinates you?
Let's see. I was watching it's on the IDC channel. Um and it was a story. Oh, no, no, no. Okay. Oh, on American Greed. I hope this counts because it's
Sure.
crime,
Yeah.
right?
Crime is crime.
American Greed. Yeah, crime is crime. So, and you asked me if I was a fan of a particular crime story. Yeah. So on American Greed, there was this lady. Um, what happened? She just finessed a lot of people out of money, and
Yeah.
she did it smooth, so smoothly, so you know what I mean, seamlessly. She was finessing investors out of money and banks, everything, and went overseas, took her girlfriend with her overseas, spent a lot, big bucks at hotels, cars, rooms, food, everything. And one of the new investors that she started working with called her from the hospital and said, I have cancer. When are you going to pay me back? And she was like, oh, don't worry about it. When I get back to the States, you'll be taken care of. And I think she maybe got like over $200,000 from the lady.
Oh my
And
gosh.
finally, when they arrested her, when she came back to the US, they found her, they arrested her. And, everyone else that was, filing, was suing her in court. Um, Obviously they won, but what was sad was the lady who had cancer passed away.
Oh.
So, even the judge, when the judge was like guilty, guilty, guilty on all accounts, that lady wasn't there to know that that the criminal was captured and found
Yeah.
guilty. So I found that to be just a fascinating story, just because of the crime she was doing. It was just like whoa, and she was doing it for years. It took her a long time until she got caught. So it's just like, oh my gosh, how many people are doing this in this world right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because I know that show covers a lot of different stories,
Yeah,
and some of them are a little bit similar. It's like some of them will scam anyone,
yeah,
some of them focus on a specific subset of people.
yes,
They're like
yes,
there's it's all kinds of stuff. And then there's some people who are just complete just con artists, and they're living
yeah.
absolutely fake lives, and they're not even like who they are saying that they are. And yeah, it gets a little wild.
Oh my gosh. So I just finished watching Inventing Anna. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that, but I want to. I want to see
Watch
that.
it.
Yes.
Watch it.
Okay. All
Watch
right. I'm
it.
gonna add
It's just
that.
pretty much, yeah.
Where is
You'll
that
love it.
one? Is that on Netflix?
Netflix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. Yes, I
Yeah.
want to see that one. Yeah, because that's the one about
Yeah. That one.
the lady in New York, right?
Yeah. Anna Sorokin.
Yes,
Sorokin.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
She was from Russia, moved to Germany, changed her last
yeah.
name to Anna Delvey. And yeah.
Yes, I want to see that one so bad. Because I am familiar enough with the story because it's just fascinating and I've
Mhm.
read about it before. Um,
Yeah.
but that one for sure, I want to watch the show. Most
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Watch it. You'll like it. You'll like it.
It's really fascinating. I just those kinds of things. It's like, how does someone get the balls to do that? I,
That's and the ending when they concluded everything, that they kind of were pushing that narrative, like that's the corporate world's fault, for believing and thinking, and they'll open an account for anyone because of, all the interest they're going to collect or whatever. But then, the court's like, that's still breaking the law.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know
it
what I
may be
mean?
it
So
may be that may be all about corporations and their business practices, but there are laws.
mhm, there are laws, and you could always say no if you don't want the loan or
Yeah.
credit cards. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But some people are like, hey, if it's that easy to get it, imagine how many banks I can do this to.
Yeah.
And it becomes like a domino effect. You start doing that to everybody, and you get away with it.
Yeah. Yep.
So, you know,
Well, getting back to the entertainment industry a little bit, what are some of the
yeah.
biggest mental health challenges that you have faced while you've been in the entertainment industry?
Oh, definitely anxiety, which I've had my whole life, but being in the entertainment industry, it increases it just because of, certain people that piss you off and
Mm.
certain things that don't go your way. And so it really does stress you out. So, for me, with anxiety, I'll just, my palms are sweating sometimes, pressure in my head. Um, Sometimes my stomach feels upside down, and I'll just have to take a moment and do breathing exercises. Or I like drinking this tea. I'm sure you guys probably have heard of it. It's called kava,
Mm.
Kava.
Hmm.
And they have different versions of the tea. They have stress relief, they have sleepy tea, they have anxiety, all that, and it really helps, especially when you drink two tea bags at once. Because yeah, anxiety will get the best of you if you let it.
Yeah. Have you
So
tried
yeah.
like other teas to see if it's just the ritual of the tea that helps or if it's this particular ingredients in it?
It's the particular ingredients in this tea. It's Samoan. It's Samoan tea. It's made from Samoa. So they I was doing research on it at one point. They actually, when they make the tea out there, they can make so much that they could roll it up and smoke it, and it'll get you a little buzz.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, I was like, give me that. Where is that?
Yeah. Not for
You
sale
know,
here yet, I'm sure.
right, right. So, we just had the tea version, the tea bags.
Hmm.
I'm sure if somebody really wanted to, they could crack open the tea bags and roll it and see what happens. But yeah, I drink the stress free, and I drink the sleepy tea, and
Mm.
it really does help. It really does. It makes you tired. It makes you feel relaxed. It also it makes you feel more social too.
Huh.
You just kind of I'll say it's something. It's a good therapeutic type of drink, especially if you're talking to someone like a psychiatrist or a therapist, and you just want to sit there and have a cup of tea and just vent about your issues. It's perfect for that.
Yeah, it just kind of helps you find that flow and
Yeah,
find that
exactly.
willingness to let it all out kind of deal.
Yeah. Oh
That's
yeah.
neat. I'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah.
Are there any
Yeah.
big misconceptions in the entertainment industry that maybe don't go noticed as much?
One of the biggest misconceptions is, you know, when you make it, you're famous and rich, and um you're Beyonce now, you're Nicki Minaj, you're Taylor Swift, you're Drake, when none of that is true. I mean, it's true for some artists who've been in the game for a very, very long time, but a lot of artists have to move away from the labels that signed them and gave them all of this money because they're not reaching their goals, their success, or achieving
Mm.
what they want to, but they're able to do it on their own, without being signed to a major label. So, just like me, I never signed a major deal. I've always been doing everything on my own. And just the biggest misconception is, signing to a label and becoming this famous superstar who's rich. That doesn't happen. That used to happen years ago. That doesn't happen anymore. You have to work hard, grind hard. You have to do a lot of groundwork to put yourself in a situation where you're doing this for a living professionally, and you're living comfortably, and you're able to, pay your bills and do what you love, but you're doing it stress free, without the puppet master, you know, pulling strings behind you, making you do this and that, yet you're
Go
not
here,
getting
go
paid enough.
there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Do
yeah.
you, so you said you never signed with a record label. Do you think that there's anything to that? Like, do you think that that is, are record labels a thing of the past, or are they just kind of there to serve a certain set of people in the entertainment industry?
I think it's a little bit of both. It is the past for sure. No one's getting signed anymore like that unless like they're super duper hot, right?
Mm,
Like, and what I mean by that is if you're performing at the Grammys and you don't have a deal, it's like a label's gonna obviously come and offer you whatever you want because you're there, right? You got yourself there. Um, and so those are the group of people that they target, opposed to like how before you could send a demo to an A&R, send a CD and get flown in to a record company and audition and they discuss what they can or can't do or whatever. Those days are over.
yeah.
So it's a whole different ball game now.
Yeah, totally different. I know the entertainment industry can be really brutal. How have you built resilience to kind of navigate setbacks and even criticism?
Just doing everything myself. When you approach someone about um, promoting your music and having them invest in it, you're gonna have opinions. You're gonna have
Mm,
um, people critiquing you left or right and totally changing who you are. But when you do everything yourself and you promote and market and publicize yourself to the masses and you create all your own material, you own your own masters, people have no choice but to respect you
yeah.
because you're the one who's putting in all of that, the back end work to put yourself in a position where you are making it to the Grammys, the Billboard Awards, the BET Awards, or whatever. So, it's just all about staying true to yourself and being independent is the way to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have strong preference for that, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Gives you that, I
Yes.
mean, it gives you that creative freedom, right? Like you don't have to
Yeah.
care about other people's opinions. You don't have to care about other people's criticism. Of course, I'm sure you take criticism and try to make it something constructive where possible,
Right.
but it's one of those things like, okay, you can say what you want to say and I'm going to do what I know is best. Like, sorry about you.
Exactly. And there's so many music executive sharks out there. Hey, give me a call. Send me a link to your song.
Mm,
And you're like, okay, well, when I do, and when we circle back to each other, it's not about you critiquing my song. I'm trying to, partner with you or have a business deal. The song is just there to let you know there is a song.
yeah.
Because it's not even about the material anymore. You could kind of release anything you want, and there's going to be one person out there who's going to like it
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
who's gonna like you, so it's kind of like those days are over where people
Hmm.
think they could tell you about your music, your style, your image. Nothing. You leave that up to the fans, the people who are gonna stream your music, purchase your merchandise, purchase tickets to your shows, give you stars on Facebook, help you monetize online, right? Those are the people that you need to worry about and not people behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah. And it is, you're mentioning all these online things, like so much of everything is online right now. Like that is how you monetize
Hmm.
is by being online and by being on these platforms and getting the likes and the
Hmm.
views and everything on these platforms. It's really different. It's really different than it was when I was growing up, at least.
Yeah, yeah, it's totally different. And then a lot of us artists we've been losing money because of streams because
Mm,
we don't get paid the same anymore, right? When we were selling CDs, we could sell a CD for damn near 19.99,
yeah.
and if you're selling a bunch of those, obviously that's a lot of money going in your pocket. Whereas now you have third parties, fourth parties, fifth parties digging their hands into your money streams.
Mm,
So yeah, it's very different.
yeah. And you mentioned anxiety. You mentioned kind of the
Hmm.
the things that you've done. You also mentioned therapy. So, what role has
Yeah.
therapy and mindfulness and other self care practices played in your professional and personal journey?
Yeah, so I was seeing a therapist. I was seeing a few therapists at one point, just because um, I felt like I was going crazy, creating too many businesses and not focusing on just one.
Mm.
And I was told, like, they pretty much damn near told me you have an addiction to creating too many projects,
Oh,
and
wow.
like you're letting the ADHD get involved, because you'll have heavy interest in this one particular project, but then you'll start creating something else and not finish the other one, when really you should see all your projects all the way through, or just concentrate on just one, so that you're not being scatterbrained, having all of these things going on. So that was really good advice. And I do have ADHD. I think a lot of us have some type of ADHD anxiety in us. And the best way to overcome that is to, like, for me, I like to exercise. I like to get on the treadmill. Um, or sometimes I'll just do jumping jacks in my room. I'll go for a run. I'll read an article online. You just do other things to take your mind off the business, and of course, breathing exercises. I also like to cook. You just do whatever you can to just make your mind change your mindset for a minute, right? Give it a breather from
Mm.
everything that's stressing you. And there's just so many other ways that we can relieve stress and anxiety.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that your therapist was like, you've got this addiction to creating too many projects because
Yeah.
I do sometimes feel like I got to a point with this show where I was trying to do too many things at once. Like I had started trying to
Hmm.
do too many things at once. And I had to scale it way back and be like, okay, all I'm going to do is this one part of it. And I'm going to do that
Right.
consistently. And once I've proven to myself that I can do that consistently, I'll add one more thing. And so it's
Yeah.
been like, I don't know if that's necessarily the same as starting a bunch of different projects because it still is like related to the one project. But I
Sure.
did have to dial it back and be like, hold on, this is going to get
Yeah.
you to a space of burnout way faster than if you just
Yeah. Yeah.
slow it down, take it back, and do it kind of one thing at a time.
Right. Right. And it's funny. I was told that if you say you have too many things going on, you really have nothing going on. And I knew and understood what they meant by that, because you have people that will do too much, and then yeah, it'll burn you out,
Yeah.
and you leave it alone, you abandon it, and it's like, okay, now you don't have anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
It does. It just stops. it's like, all right,
yeah. Hmm.
you reached your limit and now you're done.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
That's definitely it. Can you share a moment that you felt like giving up and what helped you push through in that moment?
Yeah, the moment I felt like giving up was the industry itself, approaching different A&Rs, and not necessarily producers, because they make music, but different A&Rs, different executives, and it's just the criticism that you receive,
Mm.
and being told, hey, if you don't already have a huge buzz or $500,000 in your pocket, you're not going to make it. Just people always telling you, oh, money, this, money, 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 money. And it's like, oh my gosh, well, if it costs that much money, and if I come across that much money, well, hell, I'm gonna spend it on myself and go travel the world, and do some open mics in Sweden or something,
Hmm.
in Germany or whatever. What do I need you guys for? You know what I mean? I'm just a creator. I'm an artist. I just want to express my art and perform. Um, but yeah, that is when I wanted to just quit and say, you know what, just forget this. I need to live a regular life that'll probably help me stay, sane. And then again, that's when people were telling me, hey, I used to watch you on TV. I used to listen to your music, this, this, this. Are you still doing that? And that's when I just got back to being busy again. And I just said, you know what? This is motivation. I'm doing this for all of us. I want to inspire one person uh to continue to reach their goals, and to thank people like me for it.
I love that. I love that so much. Like it
Yeah.
really is just like you're doing it for the people who care. That's what you're doing it for.
Yeah,
The people who care about what you're
that's
doing.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
What's your favorite thing about performing and about creating?
Oh gosh, performing, it's just like you get to like release and be
Mm.
free. And, it's not really so much about being seen, but it's about people seeing your capabilities, seeing your talent, your art that you're showcasing. Um, and same thing when it comes to, being in the studio, writing, reading scripts, um, just building the foundation of what you want to eventually come to fruition. And there was one particular time I was in a play called How Black Mothers Say I Love You. And I remember it was just so much hard work. It's not, again, it's not the glitz and the glam and everything. It's, we're backstage, you know, drinking water out of cups from the bathroom, and in the small dressing room, and bumping into each other, changing back and forth, and really being left alone to make this a successful play. And the second you hit the stage, you just see all of these people in the crowd, like everyone just either, got off work, or, this is like, uh, a little trip they planned with their friends. You know what I mean? Like everyone's just living a fun, easy life. Like, oh, hey, coming to, pay for tickets to watch this play, but really they don't know what goes on behind the scenes. It's a lot
Hmm.
of blood, sweat, not tears, but a lot of blood and sweat.
Yeah. 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 And
Yeah.
just seeing that effort kind of come to fruition is like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, we went through all of this, drinking water out of bathroom cups and
Right.
everything. But now look, like the audience is clearly enjoying themselves and having a good time.
Exactly.
And it's really neat to see it like the effort pay off.
Yeah, exactly. And the last show that we did a total of 12 shows. The last show, it was just like that was when you did want to cry, because it's like you wanted to pat yourself on the back, you wanted to hug each other, because we all worked so hard to memorize our lines, to become the character that we auditioned for, to really put in the work. And that's kind of how I am. Like I'm kind of like old school version. I like going through the hard work, again, blood, sweat, and tears. I like going through that rather than, just being served success on a platter. I
Yeah,
rather work for my success.
absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
I know we mentioned a couple of different things, anxiety and burnout. And a lot of the time, one
Hmm.
thing that goes along with those can be imposter
Hmm.
syndrome. Is that something that you've experienced in your career?
Imposter syndrome. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's just kind of that feeling of like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. This is not
Mm.
something that I'm qualified to be here. Like you've ever gotten on stage and been
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm not meant to be here at all. This is for someone else who knows what they're doing.
Yes. Yeah. That is so funny. I actually always felt that way. Like I'm not qualified, like as if it's a
Yeah,
job. I do feel like that sometimes. Um, like I don't feel I'm as good as the next artist. I don't feel like I'm certified as much as the next artist. They're a pro. I'm not. I'm just doing this, and it's the opposite to other people and stuff, but I think we always feel that way, and it's a form of insecurity, which
yeah,
is natural. But same thing, with acting too. I'm like, okay, I just knew how to memorize this and do what I was told. I'm not a real actress. Like, but obviously I am, and that's what I want to be, and I want to be uh, an established performer, musician. But yeah, like sometimes when you watch some of these other artists on stage, you do get intimidated, because it's like, whoa, you could tell they've been doing this for a long time, and they work on their craft day in and day out,
hmm,
and maybe I only do this a couple times a week, or on the weekends. And I'm also speaking for others too when I say all of this as well.
yeah.
But um yeah, there's always a point where you feel like you don't belong, or you're not as good as the next artist or actor or whoever.
Yeah. I know, like you mentioned certifications and like not being as
Hmm.
qualified. That's something that I have faced, especially in this space where I'm not a mental health professional.
Hmm.
I'm not. There's no. I don't have a degree in psychology or
Hmm.
anything. I'm just here to help people share stories. Like I'm a facilitator, and so a lot
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
time, like it's kind of come down to, oh, you don't have these certifications. Like this next person is more
Hmm.
qualified to do this, and I just have to like remind myself of, yeah, but that's why you're doing what you're doing instead of what everyone else is doing. Like there's a reason you're doing the things you're doing the way that you are, and it's because you're not that other
Exactly.
person. So are there any like thoughts that you grab onto or things that you're able to tell yourself and like really internalize that help you push through those moments?
Yeah, it's so funny. What I do is I go back and watch like old videos of myself performing, and I say, "Hey, I performed in Tokyo in front of hundreds of people.
There you go.
Of course, I could do this again. What are you talking about?" You know what I mean? Or I was in this film that streamed on this major platform. Of course I could memorize this monologue and go to this huge studio in LA and audition in front of several casting directors and accept the feedback. You know what I mean? Just I have to remind myself who I am
Yeah.
sometimes because I we get caught up in everything else, like the gossiping life and
Mm,
again, just the trends, the cancel culture and what other artists and entertainers are doing that we kind of lose our path a little bit. And so again, yeah, I just like watch older videos of myself either performing, acting, whatever I'm doing, and I have to just remind myself, wait, you've been in this industry for years, you know. Don't put yourself down now. Don't downplay who you are now.
yeah. I like what you said. You're reminding yourself of who you are. You're like, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't forget who you are. Like do not
Hmm.
don't
Hmm.
don't get all mixed up in yourself because you are someone
Hmm.
who is strong and who is here and who is doing the thing.
Yep, exactly.
I love
Yes.
that. I know your brand is all about kind of embracing that power and that individuality.
Hmm.
How has that focus shaped your career and your mental health as well?
Yeah. So my another alias I go by is Diva. And I'm changing the concept of what a diva is. And everything, pretty much everything that I have within my brand, it's all Diva brand, right? Keldamuzik, aka Diva. Um the Diva Project, the Diva Outreach. All my albums are named after Diva, Diva, Diva. And so that right there for me, I've created Diva to have a different narrative. It's more about being powerful. It's about being independent. It's about being strong. It's about being that woman that we see all the time with the arm up and the red handkerchief bandana around her head. It's about staying strong. And hey, sometimes as a woman, if we have to become a bitch or say certain things to get people's attention that may be aggressively or firm, or if we're being stern with people, that's what a diva is. Because if we're just sitting there quietly and mousy and, excuse me, yeah, I was supposed to receive that record, or I was supposed to perform here, I was supposed to play that part. You can't be mousy like that. You're not going to get what you want. So what do you have to do? You have to be a diva and you have to put your foot down. And that's my whole thing.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, because you're just out there saying like, no, this is what I am and this is what I deserve. This is what I work for. This is what
Yeah,
I'm here for, you know? I think that makes a
exactly.
huge
Yes.
difference. Did you always have that
Yes.
mindset, or is that something you've found through experience that you've had to develop?
A combination of both. I've always been a strong-minded person and kind of just really don't give a damn what anyone else thinks, like literally. And then on the flip side, I have developed that based on experience with dealing with different people in this industry that, try to um, that just try to either have their way with you or that try to make you feel less than them, who
Hmm.
people try to belittle you. So you just kind of learn from that experience and you overcome it um by giving yourself a different name, a different aspect on life, and different ways to approach people to let them know that you're not the one to play games with.
Yeah.
And, not saying that we come off, mean or rude or anything like that, but hey, I gotta, sometimes be a little firm with people so that
Mhm.
they know this is not Candyland. You know what I
Not a
mean?
pushover.
So
Yeah. You gotta get that assertiveness
yeah,
in there a little bit.
exactly. Yeah,
I work in
yeah.
a male dominated field, and it's definitely one of those things
I
that when I was early in my career, boy, I was a little bit of like a, oh, okay,
hmm
all right, And now
Yeah,
I'll be very up in someone's face, not in a bad way, but in a very like,
sure.
no, I know what I'm talking about. This is how this needs to go. And very
Exactly.
very firm, very assertive, very like, no,
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing, and you're not going to either take credit. That's something that a lot of people try to do a lot in my
Right.
field. Like they'll try to take the credit and be like, oh, this was my idea. No, 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 this was my idea. Nice
It's my
try.
idea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Like,
um,
yeah,
but yeah, that it's something that it sometimes takes. It's a little bit hard to start doing that though. Uh,
it is, and that's why we have motivation groups or girl groups or therapy, right? Because it's all about trying to pull that inner you out of
yeah,
you, because it's there. It's just in a shell and it doesn't know how to come out. There's what I like to tell, especially a lot of females, and I always say this, when I'm doing any kind of public speaking event, and I say, look, if you have an issue with someone, it's not about threatening them, insulting them, or getting loud, or just making things shift to a negative level. It's about talking to that person and getting your point across so that they understand how you feel.
yeah,
And if you can't do that, that's why fights break out and women get their faces scratched up and so and so's in the hospital, and just, you know what I mean? Just a lot of unnecessary stuff that could be
hmm,
avoided when you should be a grown woman, even if you're 15, 16. Just have an adult mindset and learn how to handle the issue
yeah,
without being violent.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of trying to get everybody on the same page. instead of trying to
Exactly.
instead of trying to like prove that you're on the right page. It's like, okay, let's get
Right.
everyone just get on the same page, and then we'll kind of go from there. And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
probably are still
definitely.
right, but got to get them to your
Right.
page,
But exactly. Yes, yes. So,
Do you view your music or acting or performing as a little bit of a therapeutic outlet?
oh yeah, it's always a therapeutic outlet. If I'm feeling fed up with a lot of personal things in life, I lock myself in my room and I just start writing. You write out your thoughts, and it's almost like writing a diary, right? And this is why Taylor Swift has so many fans, because she reminds you of that typical girl who comes home from school, goes upstairs, throws her backpack on the floor, cracks open her diary, looks out the window, and just starts writing all her thoughts and
Hmm.
everything that went on that day, and just kind of just releasing her stress onto, you know, her book. So that's how it is as a musician. That's how it is as an athlete. That's how it is, just in any field where you have to release aggression. Um, that's the best way to cope with. That's the best way to cope with any stress or anything that's going on with you is through art.
Yeah, I like that. And it
Yeah,
it
yeah,
definitely you can tell when an artist is speaking from experience also. Like you can tell
yes,
when they're
hmm
performing their truth versus
yeah,
performing to just perform. I think it makes a
right.
huge difference. So how much of yourself do you put into your work generally?
I try to put 100%,
Mm,
but at the same time, I don't want to be fake either and say that I've been through this and that, because I'm all about resonating and relating to my audience. I'm not
yeah.
about, spewing out fake fake news, right? So even if I'm using someone else's experience, I mention that in the music, hey, my homegirl that I knew for years, this is what happened to her, you know what I mean? And that's the way I write about it or I express it.
Yeah.
Because I may not have been through that, but I've observed it, I heard about
Mhm.
it, I've seen it, I've watched it, you know what I mean? So I could talk about it from my perspective. And one person that hasn't been through that situation will still listen to those lyrics and say, huh, interesting. I never knew something like that could happen. So, um, whether it's life, personal experiences, or someone else's experience, art is art. And if you know how to create it to where it came from you based off something that, again, you've seen or whatever, then that's as real as it's going to get.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything
If
you
it's not, yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything you wish people understood about the connection between creativity and success and mental health?
Just how hard the work is, and
Mm.
it's not an easy ride. It's not a walk in the park. And I think when a lot of people find out how hard it is to become a successful entertainer, they don't want to do it anymore. A lot of these
Yeah.
people um, just want to do it perform in front of their friends or just bump their own music in their car or just be an influencer and do YouTube videos, TikTok videos all day. But can you really be in front of an audience? Can you really be in front of some decision makers that might want to take you to the next level and partner you with a major brand, and now like you're the face of this new drink, this new uh freak, whatever, this new candy, whatever. You know what I mean? Are you ready for that? No. You just like making videos in your home, which is fine. So, there's a difference between that. There's people who are born to do this and who really want to do this and that will work hard to do this and will sacrifice their 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 um their that will sacrifice their peace of mind and go through the stress and anxiety for this.
Mm.
And then there's people that just want the attention, the likes, the views, the comments, and a cheap little laugh later. So it just, it really depends on what kind of person you are. And don't get me wrong, if you are the type of person that just wants to make videos online, that's cool. That's cool. Um, but at the same time, when you have someone out there who's driving all the way to LA, living in and out of their car, and, um, like we said, going through a mental illness at the same time, getting stressed out and dabbling into drugs and alcohol or whatever, but it's all in the name of trying to become successful, but they need to cope with it somehow. You got to give those people a break because they're the ones who really, really, really want this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a big focus on the viral aspect of things and wanting to be that kind of
Hmm.
overnight success that isn't it,
Hmm.
it just isn't always the reality. You can't make that happen. It just
Right.
sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes you get that viral moment and then it's
Hmm.
gone.
Gone. It's gone. Yeah, exactly. And and then don't get me wrong, then you have people who really do work hard, spend money, invest a lot of time in making videos, and they really want to, get noticed somehow. You know what I mean? And I know that's what social media is for, obviously. It's for marketing, promotion, and promoting, exposing yourself. That's cool. But you got to give it up to the ones that really go through it
Yeah.
and that really put themselves out there, not through social media, but the old school, the old fashioned way.
Hmm.
Driving to auditions, memorizing monologues, writing music in the studio, working with different producers, sleeping on someone's couch, you know, you know what I mean, taking a shower at the gym if you have to. Just people who are willing to go through it all.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you think the entertainment industry is making progress in supporting different artists' mental health, or is there still a long way to go in that regard?
Seems like there's a long way to go.
Mm.
And I'm hoping you watched the speech as well by what's her name, Chappelle Roan, is it?
Chapel Roan, yeah.
Chapel Roan. See, I never knew how to say her name. Chapel Roan. That speech was very, very. It was heavy, and I hope the industry. people, I hope the industry people, the labels, hope everyone was listening because,
Hmm.
yeah, you're all these artists are going on the road and sacrificing their lives, their time and everything just to promote their art for the masses. And who has their back on the mental side, who has their back on the business side, who has their back when nobody is around to talk to about anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you got to make sure whoever is in your circle are not insiders that are trying to win off you later. You know what I mean? So I think in her words, she said it perfectly. How labels and industry people just need to show more support for artists, financially, mentally, everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good that I see more and more celebrities and more successful artists and everything talking about this kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. I
Mm-hmm.
I hope that it makes a difference soon. I really do. I I
Yeah.
I feel like the more people talk about it, the more likely that is. But I know that it's not something that's immediate. It's not immediately going to be like, oh yeah, we got to change this, and then everything changes. So I hope that it
Right.
that it does have some sort of impact for sure.
Yeah, I think eventually it will because again, more and more artists are becoming independent, and from there you kind of get to choose your own circles, your own groups, your own network.
Yeah.
Who you want to surround yourself by, and you want to surround yourself by people who are going to support you emotionally first before anything.
Yeah. It would be nice if some artists started coming out and saying, like, I worked with this person and they are fantastic. Like they are wonderful.
Yeah,
They made things super easy. Like they really focused on mental health. If those kinds of stories would come out, because then those people would get more business, right? They would get more
yeah,
people
that,
wanting to work
yeah,
with them. Those kinds of stories
yeah,
are the ones that I'm looking for. That I'm like, one of these days, something like that is going to come
yeah.
out and it's going to be so positive that they're going to have overwhelming just success and themselves, and then hopefully other people will be able to model after that too.
Right, that would be great. Like imagine
Yeah.
if if Chapel Roan came on stage and said something positive about the music industry
Hmm.
and certain individuals
Yeah.
who really were by her side. That right there would have changed the game,
Yeah.
in a different way. Because now it's like, oh wow, there are some good people out there.
Yeah.
This is not a sharky shark business.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Hmm.
What advice would you give to aspiring artists who want to stay true to themselves in an industry that often pushes conformity?
It's all about being um it's all about being true to your audience and being the same person that you are no matter who you're around. No matter if you're around, your family, friends, relatives, your spouse, fans, business people, you are the same person across the board. You're not, you know, you're not being fake. And that's how you stay true to yourself. And that's how you stay true to your fan base because that's what people look for in star quality. Someone who's just an all around, straight up real person with everyone. And I think the best person who does that, are artists like, Madonna, um, Beyonce, even Nicki Minaj, uh, Lil Wayne, just artists that are just realistic with who they are, and people see that. And they know, whoa, he takes himself seriously, so I'm gonna take him or her seriously. And that's what creates longevity in your career as well.
Yeah. I like that. The focus on just like
Mhm.
this is it because you can do it long term, right?
Yeah.
If you're not trying to be fake, if you're not trying to be a whole bunch of different people for a whole bunch of different people, you can do that
Hmm.
long term. That's something that you don't have to
Yeah.
keep up an act. It just is. It just
Right.
is how it is. So I think that's
Yeah.
great advice.
Exactly. Yes.
We've got another great community question. This one is from Bite Mark. She would like to know, what is your favorite poem?
My favorite poem. I would say it would be like a Maya Angelou poem, but I don't really remember the name of it.
Do you remember how it goes at all?
It was it was just So I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie Poetic Justice with Janet Jackson and Tupac, but a lot of the poems and uh, quotes that Janet Jackson would say to herself were actually written by Maya Angelou, and then Maya Angelou, um, she actually made an appearance in the film itself. So
Oh, very cool.
that was pretty cool. But I haven't been reading any poems as of late. Um, I don't know, when I read a lot of content online, I'm always like reading articles, kind of like what you would read like in a magazine or a newspaper. But I don't know, maybe I should start
Well,
reading more
I
poems.
do know that Bite Mark considers songs to be poems. So do you have a favorite song?
Yes, I do have quite a few favorite songs. One song that I particularly like is called "Queen for a Night." It's by this artist named Keldamuzik.
Love it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so the story, really quick, behind Queen for a Night, it's based on the Cinderella story, and it's about a girl who just lives a typical, regular, normal life. Nothing special about her. She's plain Jane. But there's one time where she's the star of the show. She's the queen for the night. Everyone's eyes are on her. It's all about her. She's being treated like how Cinderella was. And I think that was such a cool concept because this could mean anything. A woman's, a wedding, celebrate her raise, promotion at a job, her having a baby, just that moment where she's feeling so special because it's all about her.
I like that. Well, there's a link if
Yeah.
anyone wants to go and listen to that. I put the YouTube link down in the chat, so you're welcome to go and listen to that right now if you want. Uh,
Queen for a night.
what is your favorite life hack?
My favorite life hack, gosh, I have quite a few of them. I actually like to, well, I'm holding my cell phone now, but we could act like this is my cell phone. For me to like concentrate on something, whether I'm watching a TV show or, reading something, I always have to flip my phone in my hands and I catch it and I flip it pretty high. But I always have to like, and if I don't catch it, I'll be like, damn it, but I think that's what keeps me focused. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you gotta have some way to fidget. My youngest loves fidgeting. Like he
Right.
just loves he's always moving, constantly moving. So we got him these necklaces, not these, but this is a
Hmm.
necklace. So we got him these necklaces that he can spin and play with and he can
Hmm.
chew on them like they're made of silicone so he can chew on them and stuff. And
Oh.
it's been great. It's just like sometimes you just have to have a little I've got a ring. I'm not wearing it right now, but this ring right here
Hmm.
you can put on and you can
Hmm.
spin it and so the ring itself
Ah,
spins like the
nice.
outside of it. So yeah, you gotta have something you can move and focus on. That's neat. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, it is time for our magic moment. So if you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental illness, disabilities, or talking about mental health, what would it be?
Hmm. It would be, huh. It would be, I want to say medication because we all have a different reaction to medication. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of medication that's healthy. I mean, that's, okay for you to take, but it's like sometimes you got to go through quite a bit of them and you have to face the reactions that you have towards those medications before you find out which one actually works for you.
Yeah.
So, I just wish we could all just naturally just feel better, like wave the magic wand in front of me
Yeah.
and the anxiety is gone, the pressure is gone, the
Hmm.
symptoms are gone, I'm just like floating on cloud nine
Yeah.
naturally.
I think it's also really important to recognize that your doctor doesn't know what medication is really going to work for you and they prescribe something
Right.
based on their experience and you have
Yes.
to it's your job to communicate back to your doctor and say this is not working for me. I want to try something different. Like try what they
Hmm.
want to try and then explain why it's not working, what part of it is not working because there are other options. Like it's not just oh, we're going to prescribe you
Hmm.
this one and that's going to be it. It's going to solve all your problems because the reality is
Right.
you don't know what's going to work for you specifically. You don't know what's going to work, and your doctor doesn't know what's going to work. So that's got to be that
Exactly.
two-way conversation for sure.
Yeah, definitely. If supplements are, recommended, natural herbs, then that's
Hmm.
fine too. But yeah,
Yeah.
you just have to find what works for you. And a lot of time your doctor would agree with that. Like, hey, maybe you don't
Yes.
need anything, from the pharmacy. Just go out and exercise,
Hmm.
start drinking the kava
Make that
tea
tea.
and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Have a daily routine, just something to keep your mind focused and keep your path clear,
Hmm.
your thinking. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are towards the end of everything. So, folks who are here in chat, if you have any more questions for Keldamuzik, feel free to pop those in. And I will just turn it over to you. I'm going to post your socials one more time so that if anybody wants to connect with you, wants to find you, they can do so. But I will just turn it over to you while I do that.
Yeah, so you guys could find me on my website, keldamuzik.com. That's KELDAMUZIK.com. You can also purchase a Thames beret on our website. That's weartams.com, weartamz.com. We have 10 different colors. At first we were just targeting them to women, but men like these too. So feel free to grab a beret, take a picture of it, take a picture of yourself with it, send it to us, and we'll post it on our socials.
I love that. And can you talk a little bit about what you use the proceeds from that? I know that in your bio it mentioned, you kind of use those for different organizations. So what do you do with the proceeds from that?
Yeah, so what I do with the actual berets itself, I'll donate the berets to certain hair loss
Oh,
organizations.
I love that.
Um, there
Yeah.
was Yeah, there was one called Boldly Me, which is out here in California. I donated 10 berets to their organization. They're an alopecia organization. And so they actually invited me to come speak at their fundraiser and tell my story, how I came up with the berets and, why I think they make you look a certain way. And yeah, and I donated as well. And I plan to donate to more hair loss organizations.
That's awesome. I love that very much.
Mm.
Well,
Thank
Keldamuzik,
you.
thank you so much for joining me here today. I have absolutely loved this conversation, and I just am so glad you're able
Yeah.
to take the time out tonight.
Thank you for having me, Mama Foxfire.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with me and Keldamuzik Diva for this episode of Even Tacos Fall Apart. I hope this conversation gave you something real to hold on to, whether it's validation for what you're already feeling or a reminder that you're not the only one navigating tough stuff behind the scenes. One thing I loved about talking with her was how open she was about the pressure to always be producing, performing, creating. That kind of pressure doesn't just show up in entertainment, it shows up in everyday life too. Maybe you're a parent trying to balance everything, or you've got a full-time job and a side hustle, or you're just trying to make it through the day without falling apart. That feeling of needing to do more, be more, keep going no matter what, it's exhausting, and it's okay to admit that. We talked about anxiety, burnout, imposter syndrome, and how sometimes the hardest part is just convincing yourself to keep going when it feels like no one's watching. But also how powerful it can be when someone says, hey, what you're doing matters. If this episode or that conversation reminded you of a creator or a friend or anyone whose work has impacted you, take 30 seconds and just let them know. You have no idea how far a short, sweet message can go. Keldamuzik also reminded us that staying grounded isn't about being perfect. It's about staying real. That might look like blocking time to breathe. It might look like choosing one project instead of 5. It might mean saying no to people who don't have your best interest in mind. Whatever your version of that looks like, it's valid. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love it if you took a moment to like, follow, or subscribe to the show. It really does help more people find these conversations. And if you've got a second, leave a quick rating or review or comment. That helps keep this project going, and I truly do read everyone. You can also find more info and resources on my website, tacosfallapart.com, including how to support the show and links to Keldamuzik's work and socials. I've got everything linked in there. It's in the episode description. Just click through. Most importantly, take care of yourself. You don't need to have it all together. Even when things feel chaotic, you're not broken or failing. you're human. I'll see you next time on Even Tacos Fall Apart.